Good morning. How are you all? I hope everything is going well for you. This is the Daily Intention. We are September 27, and the title of today's show is called Who and How. But we have a little bit more on the agenda. Let's go over our daily agenda. What we will talk about today is a little bit about the who and the how, as it pertains to business, of course, and growing your influence, growing your impact, making money. Depending on what you want to do, the answer is slightly different. I just realized I am wearing the glasses that Shanae Moray said I should run over with the car. So I don't know. Up to you to judge that. Later, when you see the image a little bit larger, you can tell me no if I should run over the glasses. We'll talk a little bit about the San Antonio Airport expansion, a meeting that I attended yesterday. Even if you are not in San Antonio, it's quite interesting to realize how important an airport is to a region's economy. And then we create a summary of that meeting that I attended yesterday with artificial intelligence. I'll show you how during this show live, we'll create this summary. Does that sound good? Type good in the chat. Let me see who's there. I have Ika from Indonesia. Good morning, or for you probably good night. I know in Indonesia the time zone is basically opposite, so it's probably 8 p.m. for you, Ika. By the way, I'm going to be in Bali in December, so love your country. Love your country. So let's talk a little bit about the who and the how. A topic that I am sure you have gotten tired of hearing, but there's a good reason marketers, coaches, and consultants keep telling you that it matters. It's because it really does. You have to decide who you are talking to, and most of you know that, but most of you are actually afraid to narrow down because of the fear of missing out. Okay, you think that if you speak too specifically, you will lose everyone else who could potentially work with you. And you say, well, but I can help everyone, right? I can help everyone. Before I make a statement for being specific, I will say that there is also a place for being a general speaker or someone who caters to the general public. I primarily see two instances where that is helpful. The first one is when you are trying to build up a large audience because you want to build up impact and influence, and you don't really care about selling anything in particular. You just want to build an audience, which that in itself makes sense. In that case, you want to provide value and entertainment that is of general nature, and it's easier to grow faster if you can speak to the masses. Just like with the movies, a blockbuster is typically a movie that speaks to everyone, whereas maybe a more specific indie movie that talks about a niche topic, that is if someone wants to only reach, I don't know, someone who is interested in an autobiography of a specific singer, for instance, right? So it's either that, or it's a business owner who has already made it big. They have a business that is generating some base income or even more. All the bills are paid. There's not like desperate need for cash flow, and you just use your platform to bring value and entertain and inform without necessarily pushing your service and your product all the time. That is when you can be a generalist. Type in makes sense if that makes sense to you. Now, most of you will be in a different situation. Most of you will be in a situation where they're desperate to sell a service or product. They basically need to find a client. They need to find the so-called lead by creating content online or placing marketing ads. It's the same. So for you all, you just need to have the guts, have the gumption to be specific, to say, if I want to use my case as an example, to say, I help physicians with startups in the free market space. That is something so specific that most of you don't even know what that is, right? But those who do, those physicians who do, and by the way, this is for my other business. Those physicians who do, they will exactly know I am speaking to them. And then you want to talk about the how. How do you help them? Well, I personally help them by setting up an online presence and making sure they can reach their local community, either individuals or employers, and then help them understand how they do their business differently, because it's a very different approach that these physicians have. Okay, so it's so super specific, but I know that that brings value to those physicians. Now, I could think, oh, you know, if I'm so specific, I'm missing out on anyone else who might want a website from me, anyone else who might to be helped being seen online. And that is interesting. That is very understandable that most people think like that. But the truth is that that's not how it works. Interesting enough, the more narrow you are positioned, the more people think, oh, that person is such an expert. They don't work with just about anyone. There must be a reason why they are an expert. There must be a reason why they have chosen to focus on that specific niche. And more often than not, believe it or not, people will come to me and say, hey, listen, I understand I'm not a physician, but I'm similar. I'm an attorney. I'm a psychologist. I'm a psychiatrist. I have a med spa. I'm a therapist. Would you consider helping me too? That happens a lot. Of course, those people that are exactly your target audience, they will know about you and they will work with you. But then, you know, just to calm your worries, people from other industries still come to you, and then it's up to you to say, okay, I'm gonna work with them or not. That's your decision, right? That's your decision. Type in agree in the chat if this has happened to you. If you happen to be very narrowly focused on an industry vertical, have you seen that by being so specific, it places you in a field where you seem harder to get to work with? And that, due to human nature, is very attractive. It comes with a bunch of other huge advantages that I won't touch on too much today, but for example, just to name two, it makes content creation much easier because instead of having to speak this general fluffy noise, you can say very specific things that are going to be very impressive, both to your target audience and those who are related or similar, right? So that is very, very important. The other advantage is, since you are an expert, you can charge premium dollars. You can charge premium dollars. You're an expert. You're not just a generalist. By the way, nothing against generalists. I think that a lot of you who are in your starting phase of your entrepreneurial journey, it's good to be a little bit of a generalist because it lets you find what your niche is. Because how can you know that? How did I know that I was going to be a good fit to work with healthcare professionals? Well, I found out because I first allowed myself to work with one, right? If I had not been open to that and worked with different types of industries at the beginning, I would not know. You cannot just wake up one morning and say, this is my niche. I'm going to focus on serving roofers. Roofing companies. There we go. You cannot just wake up like that. You have to find a reason that validates that it makes sense for you to specialize in that area. Let me know if that makes sense. All right, so next we will move on to the topic of the San Antonio Airport expansion, and I brought some photos for you. This was yesterday, by the way. This was yesterday. So here on the left-hand side, you see me at the Petroleum Club in San Antonio. Very nice location. And it looks straight onto the runway. This picture that you see there with the runway and the plane there on a runway was taken yesterday during that meeting. By the way, how awesome was that to have a meeting about an airport expansion from a meeting room that looks at the airport? The presenter, John Dixon, fantastic guy, by the way. Such a servant heart, such a great entrepreneur and great speaker, I might say. He said, I didn't bring a PowerPoint today. I got a little bit tired of PowerPoints. And I thought to myself, well, you didn't need a PowerPoint, because what better visual than the actual object in the back? So he actually stood in front of that window and then talked about the airport expansion. He talked about the different directions of the runways and why one direction was problematic because it interfered with military aviation. And then he also spoke about the need for space. Do we have enough space at the airport to add additional terminals and buildings? All of that. And we could see visually in the moment that, yes, there would be another terminal that could fit there. By the way, do you know, I kind of knew, but I wasn't aware of it. Do you know how hugely important airports are for your regional economy? I mean, this meeting really brought that to the forefront of my mind. And it is so important that when people travel to your city for business, pleasure or because they use it as a hub to get to their next destination, it's so important that that first impression is a good one, so that people feel like I can go to this city and do business there and feel good traveling. I think that is super interesting, and that's why you need to be interested in your local airport. San Antonio will never become a major hub. That's what I learned yesterday, but it can definitely become an airport that is very attractive for people who want to do business here in San Antonio, for people who want to come to conferences here in San Antonio. And because nowadays planes have a farther range, even smaller aircraft that can operate on such smaller runways, because of that, new opportunities open up. So actually, from San Antonio, you can now, I believe, during Q2 and Q3 of the year, starting next year, you can now have a direct flight going from San Antonio to Frankfurt, Germany. And Frankfurt, Germany is a major hub in Europe. You can get to anywhere in Europe from Frankfurt. So I don't have to fly from San Antonio to Houston anymore, and then from Houston to Amsterdam. Next year, I can fly San Antonio, Frankfurt. I don't have to worry about missing my connection flight internationally. And in Frankfurt, I can either take the train to Amsterdam or fly to Amsterdam, right? Why Amsterdam, you ask? Well, I'm lucky, I'm fortunate that my family owns a very nice apartment in Amsterdam, and we spend a lot of time there, more and more time, because it's really cool there. So let me show you the picture, by the way, that I took with John Dixon. Fantastic guy. Here you see him. This photo was taken yesterday. John Dixon, serial entrepreneur, a servant at heart. I mean, he was leading the effort of the airport expansion planning committee. I don't know if that's the correct terminology, but that's essentially, he spends a ton of time helping and advising for free. I believe that's a service to the San Antonio community he does. So let me get to the next phase, where I show you how we can use artificial intelligence to quickly generate a very powerful summary of what he spoke about yesterday. If that is of interest to you, type in yes in the chat. If you want to know how an entire hour of conversation that I recorded on my smartphone in a voice note can be turned into a nice summary within minutes, type in yes in the chat, because I'm about to show you, if you are interested, of course. And I know you are, otherwise you wouldn't be with me. So let me explain to you what I do. And by the way, Venice, good to have you with me. Always happy when you are one of my viewers. What I did is I had my phone, the voice note recorder, I had the phone on the desk, and I recorded John's speech. And now, before I started this live, I just transferred the audio file to my computer, and then I moved the audio file into a software called Descript. And what Descript does, it takes the whole audio file and transcribes it pretty effortlessly. That technology has gotten so performant, so powerful. Transcripts are truly a treasure trove, because with transcript you can do so much. The transcript of this very show is actually always going to be the foundation of the daily intention newsletter that goes out every day. And you can use a transcript to create course material, to create content for social media, to create lead magnets, what have you. Very, very powerful. So let me show you. Let me show you what we'll do now. I'll share my entire screen for that so you can see Descript. Okay, here we go. Okay. So we have my screen, and I'm gonna bring up this app called Descript. And literally what I did before we started the live, I created a project and I uploaded an audio file. That's all I did. I uploaded the audio file, and this, by the way, was the address that the iPhone captured where the meeting was. That's why that's there. Now here is the transcript of the conversation. Okay, so if you see here, let's see here, it talks about the Austin airport and how it competes with San Antonio, Austin, Backstrom. Okay, so but what I will do now is I will just select all of this and then copy it, and then I'll go to one of my favorite AIs these days, Claude. And I pay for Claude, by the way. Looks like I'm signed out. Let me sign back in. I pay for Claude, but I know that even as a free version, it's very powerful. Honestly, I don't know the difference yet, but I know that, see, you can upload PDFs, text files, comment separate values, so very powerful. So here I'm gonna paste in the transcript and I'll say, please create a summary of this meeting, bullet point style. And as you can see, here it's thinking now, but literally within seconds, I'm getting this within seconds. Here is a bullet point summary of the key points from the meeting. So it talks about how the airport in San Antonio is a little bit outdated and has lacked investment and attention over the last 20 years. And this has become an economic liability. And then John shared that a committee was formed several years ago to evaluate how to rebuild and transform the airport. And they found that the location is good and there's room to expand. They found that one major issue was terminals, specifically improve the experience for the passengers that travel. Okay, and then they also found that it was going to be very important to make sure that San Antonio's history and culture is reflected in the airport when you arrive, to give a sense of place, to give a sense of, oh, I'm not just at any airport of the nation, I am in San Antonio right now. And then he spoke about what are going to be designs for the future in terms of flexibility and expansion, the capability of the airport to attract more business, to attract more flights, because we were taught that multi-billion projects and terminal extensions largely require that airlines lease the terminal. And for airlines to lease the terminals, they need to believe that there's going to be enough traffic. So the most part, so in other words, the terminal expansion is largely funded by the airport itself. You cannot draw from city monies or from national monies. So that's what this bullet point here says. Funding comes from airline gate fees, small FAA grants. That's not a lot. That makes only a minor part of the budget. and then airport revenue. And of course, in order to have airline gate fees, you need to have the buy-in from major airlines. How interesting is that, by the way? Also, a lot of cities throughout the nation, their airports are dominated by one airline. So that airline basically owns the airport, right? They get to make a lot of decisions. Here in San Antonio, that's not true. We are split up evenly between 3 airlines, and that gives us a little bit more wiggle room. So John spoke about slowly adding more local vendors and restaurants to give a San Antonio feel that really matters. And we spoke about that new international flight to Frankfurt that starts in 2023. And that will be a game changer for San Antonio because it is the first intercontinental flight from San Antonio. And I'm looking forward to that very much. And I'm going to make sure I'll book the flight, because if nobody buys those flights, well, then guess what? It will be discontinued. Now, here's a very important point, and this is true for you wherever you live. You have, as a business owner, you have to stay engaged with your officials, with your politicians, and talk to them about what matters to you. In this instance, it was, of course, tell them that you care about a well-developed, well-structured airport, because if you don't speak up as a business owner, then the voices that will be loudest will be activist voices. And they are very often against the things that matter to you as a business person. So in order for your elected officials to make good decisions, you need to speak up. And then, yeah, that's essentially it. Now, I mean, how awesome is it that I was able to use this transcript and basically on the fly give you a summary of the meeting with AI's help. This, my dear friends, is how you really use AI to make your life as a professional easier. I would have taken at least an hour without AI, because I would have had to rewatch or re-listen to the whole thing, take notes, and make it neat and tidy. And Claude did that for me. You saw it, and it happened in front of our eyes, didn't it? All right, so please, if you enjoy The Daily Intention, which is the name of this show, go to thedailyintention.club right now and give me your name, email, and phone number. I'll notify you every day so that you can learn and grow every day with me. Every day I like to talk about business, some personal development, and also technology. Love that stuff. The Daily Intention comes from the intention to grow and learn daily. I do this for myself, but conveniently, if I do it as a live stream, you learn too. And that is my gift to you. That is my value creation for you. So definitely, if you want to know about different things in the world of personal development, business, and technology, let me know. Put comments under this live stream wherever you see it, and I'll make sure I'll address your interest. That takes us to the end of today's segment. As always, I'm grateful for your presence. Without you, this wouldn't be a thing. You could have been anywhere, directed your attention to anything, but you chose to be with me for the Daily Intention, and I'm grateful for you. With that said, I'm sending you love. I'm sending you good vibes. and I'm sending you gratitude from San Antonio, Texas. Bye bye for now.